Hello, listeners, and welcome to yet another episode of the Nigeria Football Weekly Podcast. I'm your host, Olu Oke. Today is episode 141, and as usual, now there's the off-season. I'll be bringing you a roundup of news involving the Super Eagles or Nigerian players that I believe is noteworthy or newsworthy for your listening pleasure that's taken place over the past week. So what am I going to be talking about on today's episode? I'll be touching on some comments made by Ahmed Musa on the NPFL and the state of the league while watching the FIFA Club World Cup. I'll be touching on Super Falcons and their Women's Africa Cup of Nations preparations, as well as their friendly game against Portugal. I'll then be touching on a few transfer news involving Nigerian footballers and talking about some comments I saw by someone that was banned by FIFA called Samson Siasia, who does not know when to keep quiet and respect the status quo after being embarrassed. And then finally, I'll be doing a quick Club World Cup roundup. So hopefully this shouldn't take too long. It should be a nice and concise episode. So without any further ado, starting with point one, Ahmed Musa's comments about the NPFL. So over the weekend, Ahmed Musa made a tweet questioning the overall quality of the NPFL and his doubts on whether or not NPFL teams could compete with the best teams in Africa. Also, bear with me and my background. Even though London, we usually don't get sunshine. Honestly, God is shining on us and we're getting a lot of sunshine. So I've had to tweak myself a little bit so that the sun does not block the viewing or the color grading or technical language for video editing. So bear with me and shout out to my goat, Thierry Henry. As you all know, I'm a serious Arsenal fan. So, thanks to that guy. But anyway, what did Ahmed Musa say in his comments? So Ahmed Musa said, word for word, I have been following the FIFA Club World Cup and my focus has been on the African clubs in the tournament. Apart from the excitement, the tournament is a money spinner for the African clubs. It's a sober reflection if we compare the African clubs at the Club World Cup to our domestic league, the Nigeria Premier Football League. Can we compete at this level? Question mark. What are we not getting right? We need to review the organization of the league, club structures and funding. We need to set out new policies and drive the reforms. The NPFL is not lacking in potential, which I agree and we've never said it is, but our football has got an abundance of talent and potential from the grassroots to the elite level. But these factors aren't enough in a modern football system. We must collectively decide to make our football work, which will ensure that our clubs compete at the continental and world level. What about the referees and officiating? Other African countries are producing referees for CAF and FIFA tournaments. But what do we have here? Question mark. We must work hard to ensure our football meets the global standard and organization. Wishing all the African countries at the FIFA Club World Cup success. And then he put two emojis with a hand fist. So first of all, some people criticize me on this channel for things I say about the NPFL, but you can argue that there's nobody better qualified to have an opinion on the state of the league than, I would say, the former Super Eagles captain / de facto captain sometimes, Ahmed Musa, Nigeria's cap holder in terms of record appearances, Nigeria's highest goal scorer in World Cups with 4 goals. This is a player who also played for Kano Pillars both at the start of his career and is currently a Kano Pillars player. So you can't say he hasn't earned the right to speak on the league. This is someone that's traveled all over the world, played in the Premier League for Leicester, played in Russia for CSK Moscow, played in Saudi Arabia for Al Nassr before they became the cool club. So he has the right to speak on these things. Ahmed Musa's career has lasted over 10 plus years. And even though I personally think he should not be in the Super Eagles right now, in terms of credibility to speak on national affairs and the team, there's not many people, if any, better qualified to speak on this than Ahmed Musa. So for once, I'm glad that a man with the kind of reputation that Ahmed Musa has come out and made this statement. So they won't say us in the diaspora we're salty or we don't want to big up the Nigeria league, that there's talent there. Mind you, no NPFL team has qualified for the CAF Champions League since 2019. The 2019 season, 2018/2019. We're about to start the 2025/2026 season. So let's count number of seasons after. 19/20, 20/21, 21/22, 22/23, 23/24. That's 5. 24/25, and this next season coming will now make it 25/26, which means it will be 7 seasons ago since a Nigerian team even qualified for the CAF Champions League group stage. If somebody entered secondary school at that time, they finish secondary school now. 6 years has passed. That's how long it has been. In fact, that was the season Liverpool won the Champions League. That's how long ago it was. COVID-19 had not even come. So I like you people that we don't want to be objective to please look at the data. One good thing about football is we can be objective. We can look at the facts on ground. So 7-year absence of Nigerian teams in the CAF Champions League. And who won the NPFL this year? Remo Stars, I believe. Remo Stars. So between Remo Stars and the team that came second, both of them will get a chance to qualify for the group stage. But can we use our eyes and say that they will definitely qualify for the group stage? I hope they can surprise us, one of them. But the point still stands. I've told you guys before, CAF coefficients, Nigeria's league is ranked number 12. Number 12. If a team is ranked number 12 in European coefficient for league, you people will not even give them any time of the day. When last was Nigeria as a national team ranked 12th in Africa? It does not happen. The worst we can ever get to is maybe 7th or 8th during a down period, but we're always in the top 6. But the quality of our league is that far behind. And I love that he questioned the administration. He's very diplomatic guy. See how he said it? When we look at the status of our league, the organization of the league, the club structure and funding, what can we say? The basics are not gotten right. He also mentioned officiating, facilities. These are all things we mention all the time. And we can't say we don't have the potential. We don't know who's chopping all the money, both for the national team and for the league. Even national team to today, they don't have a base to train. They'll be managing whatever they can just scrap for them here or there. Carrying them to you every time they're coming to come and play match. Meanwhile, they'll fly to Abuja, then take 2 flights. Meanwhile, their mates in England will just take a car to go to St. George's Park. Or even, let's even compare it to African mates. Have you heard of the Mohammed IV complex in Morocco? Morocco, they are going to host AFCON in December, host World Cup in 2030. Morocco are even bidding to host Club World Cup. Big boy, big team. Look at Morocco now. Do you see them struggle to convince anybody to play for them? In fact, it's people, the nationals are even rushing Morocco, saying, please, we want to play for Dima Maghrib. We want to play for Morocco. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, we have people like Adarabayo that's about to be 28 that will be doing shakara for us. Yes, we have the prestige of Nike. We do well in tournaments when we get there. But that structure, that closing of the loop, he comes to Nigeria, he doesn't know where he will play, where he will train, where his hotel will be. Our players are still sharing rooms in 2025 when they come and play for Nigeria. When they play for their club, they get their own room. But nobody will talk because they don't want to piss off Ibrahim Gusau and the big boys in charge. That's why I saw a clip of Mikel on the Peter Crouch podcast saying he wants to get involved in Nigeria, but until all the people there have gone, and I agree with him. Because there's something very sinister about Nigeria and this respect culture of older people. Yes, we can learn things from them, but they have to move away for new people with fresh ideas to come. Where have their old ideas gotten us? Apart from Pesero's defensive tactics taking us to AFCON final, can we argue that the last 10 years have been better? The last 10 or 20 years has been better than the 90s or the early 2000s? Or even let's even go up to Stephen Keshi's time, 2013, 2014. Which was 11 years ago. God may his soul continue to rest in peace. Since Stephen Keshi went, games Nigeria should be winning, we are still not sure. We even missed a few AFCONs under Amaju Pinnick. So between Pinnick and Co. and all these people they keep putting as NFL president, where is the walk-in? If it's to go and celebrate Osimhen's title in Napoli or Galatasaray, you will see Gusa will go and stand and take picture. But what are you doing? The team is on the verge of missing another World Cup. Since we qualified for World Cup, we've never missed 2 in a row. In fact, 2006 and this 2022 are the first ones we missed since we qualified. And yet we are here about to miss another one. The Club World Cup, they are praising Mamelodi Sundowns. That's already 8 of South Africa's starting 11. See how they are playing. We think we'll beat South Africa in South Africa. I mean, I hope so. Let's see. They haven't even deducted any points. But the whole point is just to talk about the whole ecosystem and how messed up it is. For a country so passionate about football, and we have the intangibles, the passion, the population, that's why we're still able to churn out talent in Nigeria so quickly. Look at almost every top 10 nation in Europe. There's a Nigerian player there because we have something in the soil. Mind you, some of these countries, the Nigerian population may be less than 500,000. less than 200,000. But yet, Nigerian players always come from there. England, of course, as our colonizer, we have plenty. Whether it's Saka, Eze, Sholanke, there are plenty. You can even go and look at Denmark, Chido Obi, all these ones they are talking. Patrick Dogu that plays for Man United. These are all players that could have played for Nigeria. Spain, Samuel Geowa, he could have played for Nigeria. Italy, Desni Udoji could have played for Nigeria. Caleb Bukoli could have played for Nigeria. Michael Kayode in the Premier League for Brentford right now. He's going to play Italy on that 21 euros while they are losing. He could have come and played for Nigeria. Which other country? Germany, Adeyemi. Now all of a sudden he's getting caps again. But there was a period where almost for 3 years he was not called up. Where were we when he was still young, where we could have gotten him to play for the national team? Musiala, he could have played for Nigeria. France, Mikel Olise, Leslie Gochuku. Any country you can think of, there's one there. Netherlands, Emmanuel Emega is coming now. He plays in Strasbourg in France. Any country you look at, Denmark, Norway, Antonio Nusa. So what is it about us? We clearly have this God-given talent to produce these footballers. In the right environment, we always have Nigerian players thriving. But the NFF and the federations and the NPFL, I just don't know what they're doing. And I'm tired of, if you criticize, you sound salty. But we just want the best for the country. Look at when Nigeria played these games against Ghana and Jamaica. Nigerians came out to watch the game. The interest is there. But does the average Nigerian care about the Super Eagles like they did before? Do you think in the 90s or early 2000s, if Messi was playing against Nigeria, people would support Argentina over Nigeria? It's not possible. But people have grown so detached from the Super Eagles because sometimes they want to watch the games. They can't find the stream. It's not widely available. Where are the cheap jerseys to buy? Where is the Karamagi? Where is the building of the strategy and connection PR-wise between national team and players? But guess what? They watch La Liga every week. They watch Champions League every time. And they have these deep connections to these teams. Even me, it's in Nigeria I watched Arsenal the first time when I was 7 that made me a gunner. So we have a lot of thinking to do and a lot of repurposing to do, man, to get us where we need to get to. I mean, don't even get me started on people that whenever I need one national mess up for Nigeria, in true bigotry style, the first they'll do is complain that we should put NPFL players in the squad, they will do better. Look at Ahmed Musa talking about the NPFL. And that's what you say. Do you know how many Nigerian players we have in Europe? Forget all this sentiment. I'm tired of it. Even the way people rush to defend Nwabali compared to how they rush to abuse Okoye. You can't tell me there's no sinister logic in that, and it needs to stop, man. But anyway, all the facts here make it obvious. The league is not what it used to be. I remember watching Vincent Yama's Enyimba win CAF Champions League back-to-back, 2003, 2004. That time, if any player is in the national team from the league, will anybody complain? When we even had Godfrey Obabona, Sunday Oba, that were winning AFCON in 2013, playing for the local league, did people complain? No. But guess what? You can see the evidence on the quality of a league. These same people will tell the Premier League is the top league because when you look at UEFA coefficients, England performs the best, both in Europe, domestically. Just look at the numbers. We're there. Spain there, Italy there, Germany there. It's based on performances. But when it comes to Nigeria and NPFL, all of a sudden people want to forget the fact that the data is there and the numbers matter. Let's keep playing ourselves. So anyway, Musa is not the first player to speak on this recently. We also saw Brownie there speak on it. But look, we hope something will change. I'm not the most hopeful, but if someone like Ahmed Musa can at least speak out and these players can be incentivized by the riches of a Club World Cup, which take place every 4 years, can you imagine how much money Mamelodi Sundowns, Al Ahly and Esperance are about to come into, and why that Casablanca? At least, I think, even just for participating, you make at least $20 million. That's, I don't think if you combine the revenue of the NPFL over the past 5 years, it even reaches that. How often do you see players being traded from the NPFL straight to Europe? A lot of times it's from the academies before they even get there. That shows you that there's some disconnect somewhere and something that's not going on rightly. So let's see what happens from this and what would happen based on these comments. Just to quickly touch on the Club World Cup and moving on from this statement from Ahmed Musa. By the way, God bless you, Ahmed Musa, for that statement. Club World Cup, to be honest, is in a disaster show when it comes to Nigerian players. We will not include Tosia Darabayo, who scored the other day against Esperance, because he has refused to declare for us yet. But if he does, we will praise him and add him to the names. But the ones that are officially Nigerian, Zedu Sanusi did not play a single minute for Porto. Porto already out of the tournament. No minutes for him in all 3 games. And Porto finished third. So the writing has been on the wall for Sanusi at Porto for a while. So let's see what happens to him in the summer, because now we even have Felix Agu and Onyemachi at Olympiacos. You have to say that Zedu Sanusi may never ever play for Nigeria again. He needs to really sort out his club career, and then let's see what happens. One bright spot, in my opinion, has been Onuche Ogbelu for Esperance in Tunisia. He played all 90 minutes in all 3 games for Esperance. It's a shame because they lost their first game to Flamengo, but they beat LAFC 1-0 in their second game. Yusuf Belali scored. Remember Belali, he plays for Algeria. That year that they won AFCON, he was in their squad too. He wasn't quite Mahrez's dagger to our hearts, but he's a good player, although you can see why he ends up playing for these top African teams rather than any good team in Europe, because his decision-making can be so suspect. But when he does well, he does well. But anyway, they bowed out to the tournament the other day after losing 3-0 to Chelsea. But I think he did enough to showcase what his talent can look like. And you never know, there might be a few scouts in Europe who may be looking at his performances. Or with Esperance, which is now, maybe they can up his salary. But definitely one to watch, and I thought he did his chances no harm throughout this tournament. As for the Alain boys, almost F9. Alain are a terrible team, man. My God, they're awful. They suck. Joshua Udo made a late cameo in their 5-0 loss to Juventus in their first game, and then he was on the bench as they lost 6-0 to Manchester City. Mind you, Alain are UAE, but man, this just shows you the level gap between them and even the likes of Al Hilal and the Saudi League, man. It's really not it. The final game for them is today at 8 o'clock. I'm recording this on Thursday, 26 January. It is currently 4:30, so in about 3.5 hours, they will play against Wydad Casablanca. So both teams are already out. Juventus and Man City are just playing to see who tops the group. And that would mean that they're likely to, one will avoid Real Madrid, the other one will play Real Madrid, depending on where Real Madrid finish in their own group, because Real Madrid have some work to do with Red Bull Salzburg, Al Hilal in their group, all playing at 2 a.m. tonight. So look out for that. Joshua Odo is the one that's been getting minutes, but the other Nigerian players, Riwanu Sarki, Hassan Mohammed, and the goalkeeper, they've not even made the match day squads. So let's just say, when it comes to the Club World Cup, Nigeria should just close our eyes in terms of that one. Now, just to quickly close the loop on people lamenting about the state of Nigerian football before I finish up with Super Falcons and transfer news. We also the clips of John Obi Mikel giving his updates to on the Peter Crouch podcast. I took my time to watch the interview, which was fantastic. And let's be honest, Mikel Obi is already our foremost ex-international in terms of punditry and having respect in England and wider Europe. I know he lives in Dubai. His podcast is doing really well. He's a pundit for the Club World Cup right now. He's a Chelsea legend, so he has that cachet, for people to listen to what he says. He's everywhere. English podcasts, he's flooding them and giving quite a lot of brilliant interviews. In this one, he talked about when his father got kidnapped. People who like to pile on Mikel forget these things. When his father got kidnapped during a World Cup, I think it happened to him twice. Then you forget that he sacrificed and left Chelsea to go and play in the Rio Olympics for Nigeria, where we came third. That even shows you how far we've fallen. In 2008, we came second in Olympics. 2016, we came third. At the time, Nigeria, we used to even go to Olympics and showcase. But now, he was talking about how for that tournament, he had to pay for the flights for the team to go to Brazil. Now, to show you how shameless Nigeria's administrators are, and let's be honest, even some of our journalists, it's the same way I don't think Nigeria has a very sinister understanding of why you need to not platform people who are like abusers or who do things that are morally bankrupt. It's the same way if you hear someone's been accused of maybe some kind of sexual assault or something, it never seems to affect their career. Nigerians act like these things don't matter. It's the same way someone like Samson Siasia, we give him his praise as a Super Eagles legend, but Samson Siasia was banned by FIFA. Banned by FIFA for bribery and corruption. This is a man that should have no rights to speak on anything football-wise. Talk less of trying to give us credibility and make it seem like he's a voice that we should listen to on any topic involving football. He should know how to respect himself and go and sit down and build something for himself and just let his footballing legacy showcase. But for some reason, every Nigerian journalist wants to still platform Siasia. I don't know whether it gives them shishi or something, but I find it so sinister and crazy. Like, I respect Oluwashina Okeleji, but why is he quoting comments from Samson Siasia? When does Samson Siasia look like someone that deserves respect? This is a man that made a statement about Mikel Obi, had the audacity to say, we remember that there were issues with funds and it led to Nigeria leaving late for the tournament. He said Mikel didn't pay for any flights. Delta Airlines flew us to Brazil for free. He should stop saying this. If he has the receipt or the payment, let him present it. He stepped in to settle some bills at the hotel, not the flights. What an interesting statement. He said, oh, Mikel did not pay for flight, but he paid for other things. Does this not show you how stupid the people we have in our football administration are? He even saw this statement and still felt like what he said was credible. Is that not crazy? Does that not sound like someone that is insane? Where is the shamelessness in the statement? Nothing should ever have to be paid by any of the players. All the FIFA money that they've been endowing you with, what did you do with it? What do we see from the benefits? What exactly is the point of the statement in the first place? And what was he trying to achieve? He wants to somehow undermine Mikel. Because in the same podcast, that's why Mikel said that he needs the current administration to leave. Because he believes that with himself and certain people who understand football, we could grow the Nigeria game again and even get to a position where we could do certain things to position us to be in a chance of winning the World Cup. But guess what? Maybe Siasia had not realized he's highlighting the incompetence. You don't know. Because I realized that some elder people in Nigeria is as if everybody around them calling them yes sir, and buying down to them affects the way their ability to critically think, and it's a shame. You know. We also remember that Nigeria team got to Brazil only hours before their first game of the tournament too. So is this not simply embarrassing that these are things that we see and hear about Nigeria? And the pride of the man to make such a statement. Instead of him to just shut up, what are they do song fam? But of course, we keep encouraging nonsense. Siasia, because his name is known. Do you know what he did? Do you know what it means for FIFA to ban you? Ban you. And this son that is opening his mouth to talk and just be yapping away. But anyway, one thing to finalize on, the Super Falcons were in action on Monday in preparations for the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, which kicks off in early July. Last week, the squad list was announced for the Super Falcons by Coach Magudo. Squad list, a lot of the usual names you'd expect for the Super Falcons. There are a few interesting surprises. So goalkeeper, we saw Chiamaka Nadozie, Tuchukwu Oluweyi. So those are the two goalkeepers that always get called up at all times for the Super Eagles. And then Rachel Onachukwu. Defenders, a lot of the usual hits as well. Michelle Alozie, Tosin Demei, Osinachi Ohale, Shukura Toladakpo. Ashley Ponta is back in the squad, which is really good because she's probably our best defender. And then we see Miracle Osani called up and Skiratu Issa. In midfield, a lot of the usual suspects, including the team captain Rashidat Ajibade, Halimat Ainde, Deborah Biodu, Jennifer Chegini, Tony Payne, and Christy Uchebo. So a lot of people that you'd usually expect to be in the squad. And then forward line, our most legendary player, Ajizat Oshola, is in the squad. Francisca Odega is also in the squad. Ifeoma Onumonu, Esther Okoronkwo, Rinsola Babajide also in the squad. And then we see Chinwelu Ihezuo back in the squad, and then new names Folashade Ijami Lucy and also Chioma Okafor. Chioma Okafor plays in the US, and people were a bit like, why was she called up? Because she plays in the collegiate system. But this is a player that was eligible to play for Malawi as well. She was born in Blantyre in is it Malawi? Yeah, Malawi. But of course, when you compare pedigree of Super Falcons versus Malawi, like, it makes sense for her to play for Nigeria, even though I heard she was born there and she reps Malawi quite well. But Chioma Okafor, Omo Igbo, please come and play for Super Eagles. So let's see how she plays. Obviously, Gift Monday is the highest profile absentee from this squad. I also not sure what happened to the other Payne sister. I thought she's quite good. But anyway, still a decent squad. Should definitely still be winning the Women's AFCON. Anything less than that should be considered a disgrace, to be honest, considering the quality of the squad we have. But anyway, we played against Portugal on Lisbon on Monday night. And safe to say, Chiamaka Nadozie was by far Nigeria's best player. Portugal absolutely like bombarded us, man. Like at one point I was watching what the new coach has been doing in training because my word, they went through our entire team like so often. Like the amount of chances Nadozie had to save. I mean, looking at the minutes and the notes, I don't want to bore you with everything. But Nadozie had to make at least 6 or 7 saves in this game. There was a chance where the Portuguese team made a mistake where the goalkeeper was in no man's land and threw the ball to Francisca Odega and then she kicked the ball and it just hit the bar in the 80th minute. So that was the one or closest chance we got. I'll say the last 30 minutes, Nigeria began to show a bit of workings here or there. We didn't have our full squad in this game, but still a decent draw for Nigeria considering the level of the opposition. Once again, of course, the Portuguese team had their kits with their names on the back and the Nigeria team did not, even though it was the first time we were launching our new jersey, which was interesting to see. Too many long balls were able to get to the Portuguese striker. I'm not sure what the defensive shape or structure is of the current Super Falcons that the new manager was, but let's just say that defensively it was not very good. If not for Nadozie. Attacking wise too, not great, Too many loose passes in the final third, so they need to get better with that. I thought Rasheedat Ajibade was easily our best player in the first half. When Onumonu came on in the second half, she brought some energy and was lively when she came on for sure. Odega, Ajibade, Tony Payne and Onumonu got a lot more of the ball in the second half, which seemed to bring us our best chances of scoring. One thing I will praise the Super Falcons is you can see the importance of physical conditioning and strength. It's a lot more obvious in the women's game than the men's game, and I think we have a distinct advantage over a lot of teams, both in Africa and the world, with how strong our women are. So hopefully that will continue to be a source of fruition for our team. Next up for the Super Falcons, they play Ghana on Sunday in the final warm-up game before the Women's Africa Cup of Nations starts. And then Nigeria's first game will be against Tunisia next week Sunday on July 6th, 5 p.m. Nigeria time against Tunisia. We'll then play Botswana 4 days later on Thursday, 10th of July. And then we'll round up our tournament on Sunday, the 13th of July, where we play Algeria. So look out for those games, and I'll do my best to bring as much coverage of the women's AFCON where possible. If you made it to this part of the video, God bless you. Thanks for listening this long. I mean, I have a magical way of making things longer than they should be, but, we have to talk football, and, all content is great content, and we love the national team, and, we're passionate about these things, so I just wanted to quickly do that. Anyway, just to round up the podcast, the latest transfer news we've been hearing. As you know, the second transfer window is now finally back open, and this will run in most parts of the world until the end of August, which basically means 1st of September anyway. So there's a lot of time for transfers to take place over the next 2.5 months. But what are we hearing so far? Moses Simon has completed his medical to move to Paris FC, and his signing and transfer to Paris FC was confirmed yesterday, Wednesday, June 25th. He has signed a 3-year contract and the fee is 7 million euros. Congratulations for the move. We know he's been in France for a long time, I think over 6 years, so he's probably a citizen now anyway. But if we're being objective, at 29, moving for a team like Paris FC that just got promoted, he could say, he was moved by the ambition of Paris FC, but bro, there's something about Moses Simon. He likes to be a big fish in a small pond, man. Like, that's the only thing I can conclude from this, because from relegation battle to relegation battle, it's like that's what he enjoys the most. In any other situation, a player playing for Paris FC who just got promoted to the French league should not be playing for the Super Eagles, if I'm being brutally honest. We know his qualities, but if, for example, someone like Onyedika has a cracking season for Sevilla, and Sevilla finished in the top 10 in La Liga, we can't really argue if Onyedika then takes his spot in the Super Eagles. But we know he has enough goodwill and credit in the bank, so he'll probably still go into the AFCON, maybe as Lookman's backup, more likely. But these are the kind of moves that it just leaves a bit more to be desired, if that makes sense. You could have upgraded your position. It's your final big contract. Can you actually play in a club that has ambitions to play in Europe, or at least try to win big things in leagues? But he's clearly comfortable in France, so you know what? I don't begrudge him. Hopefully, Paris FC can at least finish above none, so we could say it'll be a progressive move for him. But it's an interesting one, but I won't lie to you, it leaves a bit more to be desired. Semi Ajayi, on the other hand, after leaving West Brom decided not to extend his contract in the Championship. He's now completed a move to Hull City. So the 31-year-old signed a 2-year deal. Mind you, Hull City finished mid-table in the Championship, and no offense, Semi Ajayi, but signing for Hull City at this stage of his career at 31 years old tells us all we need to know about his current capabilities. This is a player that was playing the Premier League maybe 4 years ago. In my opinion, he shouldn't be getting called up to the national team. Scored an own goal in our last game against Russia. Not very good on the ball, if I'm being honest. You can see his limitations, and when you have the likes of Gabriel Oshon in Ligue 1, Akpoguma in Bundesliga, you even have Torunariga going back to the Bundesliga to start, Calvin Bassey in the Premier League, we could potentially Wutosi Adarabayo. We have enough players. Even Benjamin Fredericks could end up playing for Brentford in the Prem next season. I think we have enough players who we need to really move on for Shemi Ajayi because, even Igor Ugbo, look how well Igor Ugbo played over the 3 games for Nigeria. So I think it's time to maybe sunset Shemi a little bit. He wasn't called up for the previous games until this round of friendlies. So let's see what happens. Also, Leon Balogun, another player whose national team career is done. He's moved to Aris Limassol in Cyprus as a free agent. His former team Rangers didn't extend his contract, but he signed a 1-year contract. Mind you, he's close to the end of his career. He's 36 years old and will turn 37 in a few days. So understandable move for him. This may be the last season of his career, but if it's not the last, it's definitely close, is the whole point. So decent move for him, but we won't be covering what Leon Balogun is doing in Cyprus, to be honest. Kenneth Romero, on the other hand, has signed for Romanian giant CFR Cluj, another player whose national team career, in my opinion, is over. His contract with Kasimpasa was terminated as he fell out of favor. The last game he played for them was in September last year, where he played 60 minutes. So, talk about falling out of favor, 9 months ago. He's the 6th Nigerian to play for Cluj after Ibe Ogbonna, Nwankwo Obiora, Derek Ogbo, Philip Otele, and Peter Michael. So, decent move for him, but wouldn't matter to us, to be honest. He's definitely reached the twilight of his career. But we thank him for his contributions in winning AFCON in 2013 and being part of the squad in the 2014 and 2018 World Cups. Also, I saw an interesting rumor yesterday about, in my opinion, the crown jewel in Nigerian midfield after Alex Iwobi, in the name of Raphael Onyedika. Respected Italian journalist Sasha Tavolieri made a tweet yesterday that West Ham United and Everton FC are currently in pole position for Raphael Onyedika. West Ham is the most concrete offer so far for the Club Brugge midfielder, and Bruges expect a fee close to 30 million euros to make it happen. So this is one to watch. I love to watch Onyedika play in the Premier League. This is a player that was linked to AC Milan as recently as 2 years ago. So we know he's capable of playing for the big teams. He played in the Champions League this past season and definitely made an impression. I keep talking about watching Ali McCoist when Club Brugge played Atalanta and how impressed he was with Onyedika. When I think about West Ham or Everton, West Ham have just had a horrible season after letting go of David Moyes. It's crazy how quickly things fall for them. And I'm not so sure about the environment. We saw, what's the Mexican guy who plays for West Ham? I can see his face in my head, but I've forgotten his name. Very, very good defender. He used to be at Ajax. He moved to West Ham and it's not quite worked out for him. I think that West Ham is a little bit like Man United. It's like there's something in the water that just makes players not do as well as they should be. Look at Kudus last season. It was not a great season after he flourished in his first season. So, one to watch. I think Everton is an interesting case. They've got David Moyes. They've got a new stadium that they're moving into and a real chance to refresh. They had a lot of free agents they've let go, whether it's Abdoulaye Doucouré to the Ashley Youngs of the world. So they're literally building a new, fresh project over there. So that may appeal to Onyedika. And at this moment in time, I trust David Moyes as a manager compared to Graham Potter at West Ham. So I'll probably prefer he goes to Everton, but at the end of the day, Premier League is Premier League. I don't think any of these two teams are in danger of getting relegated. And either way, I back someone like Onyedika that if he signs for any of these two teams, he will showcase enough to make them know that, look, his level is even beyond them. But he can do a job for them at the moment. So that's it for this episode of the podcast. Let me know what you think about all the updates and comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section around the transfer news, Ahmed Musa's comments, the Super Falcons and their games, or the Club World Cup and what we've seen so far, and other transfers we mentioned, or even the nonsense from Samson Siasia's mouth. All is welcome. Until next time, I've been your host Oluoke. Enjoy the football. There's Club World Cup games still going on. We have the Super Falcons playing on Sunday, so watch that game, and I'll be in touch next week to bring you another roundup of how of any footballing news in the footballing verse involving our Nigerian footballers. Also, bear with me on the setup. As I said, shout out to my goat. But until next time, I'll be host okay. Take care and enjoy the football. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and click the bell to get a notification whenever we drop a video. You can also find our social media channels listed below. And of course, up Super Eagles and Nigerian they ever carry last.